What's up, everybody? So today, sorry guys, there were some technical issues going on, and we were not able to start at the original start time of 8:30. So I did change it to 9. Anyway, so we're gonna get this started. Today we're gonna really talk about some of the upgrades coming to the channel. I've talked about them a little bit here and there in a lot of the videos, but we haven't really talked much in depth on some of the things. And now I feel like we have a little bit of confusion between the 6.0 and the 6.7 Powerstroke. So we're going to try to clear some of that. Also, we're going to talk about some diesel news that I think really needs talked about. And I saw that the DOJ is suing eBay over tuner kits, or I think they call them something really dumb like smoke emissions defeating smoke devices or something like that. So we are going to talk a little bit about what I think is a topic that needs talked about more. Sorry, shower. It's a big deal that the DOJ, as if we have nothing better to do with our Department of Justice, is coming after eBay now for allowing people to sell products on their site. Also, I think some of the downfalls of the EPA, and I think what's really become a mockery and attack on a fuel type they seem to dislike, despite it powering most of their electric vehicles, or their charging stations anyway. So, Rich, how you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. So, anyway, we're going to start talking about the upgrades first, and as we kind of build up, Lanko, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good night too. As more people join, once we get like maybe closer to 20 people in here is when I'm going to really kind of turn the topic over to my thoughts on the DOJ and the EPA and their newest attack on diesel performance, which is very upsetting for me and actually leads to a lot of why I'm sticking with emissions compliant stuff on the 6.7 and trying to basically stay under the radar. Don't worry, there's some really cool products out there for that truck that I think will be great to talk about and review. But in the meantime, let's talk. Where's the 6? So the 6 liters back again. It went to the body shop. So that was, let's see here. That was Monday. It went in. They had it done Tuesday for me. So Tuesday I went and picked it up. The dent looks great. They painted door handles and some molding pieces for the roof. So I'm going to do an install video on how to. She's not even on right now. That's right, Nick. She's not. So that molding piece on the roof, we're going to have that where I actually show how to install that piece. That's a common one that falls off a lot of these trucks. And we'll talk about the 2 different ones you can buy, because there are 2 different ones that are out there depending on your truck. So we'll talk about that in the video, but I got them color matched, the door handles color matched. It was funny. The body shop guy tells me, he goes, well, yeah, we did a really nice job on them. We've never actually painted them apart. I thought they always took them apart and painted them, but no, most body shops apparently paint the door handles completely intact. So he was excited I had them completely taken apart and ready for him, basically just a prep surface and paint. They came out really nice, and I'm excited about that. I didn't use it. I don't think I used it for this video's no, because I only took pictures of it the other night. There'll be some new pictures of the 6 liter coming out. Yeah, actually, the picture used for this, for the thumbnail, is actually like 5 years old. It's a very, very old picture used, but so those are really the next videos coming for the 6 liter. Going to be it coming back from the body shop, showing the work, showing the door handles, putting those roof molding pieces on. We have sensors to install: an exhaust back pressure sensor, a exhaust back pressure. We need boost and fuel pressure. And I have most of that stuff already here because I was getting ready to install it prior. However, what happened to the 6 liter happened. So that'll be some of the next videos. And once those are installed, we're going to do the first review of the GXR7 Turbo from, the guys over at Turbo Time USA that hooked us up with that. So that turbo review is coming very soon. And once that turbo review is done, that turbo is going to come out of the truck and a new one's going to go in. a 64 millimeter turbo that years ago was slated for Josh's truck. This is, hey Terry, how you doing, man? This turbo has been sitting for a while, so hopefully there's no issues. Granted, my GXR sat for a while as well, so again, doesn't seem to be any issues. It's driving well. My smoke issue is the other thing. I'm talking with Phil at DSD, one of the newer sponsors to the channel that you guys have been hearing me reference. He is going to be, he works with someone for injectors, so I will probably be actually building my own set. I won't be able to show that part because there's some proprietary stuff that I can't show on there. I am going to show tearing down a Warren diesel injector and a stock injector to try to show the difference of what's in my truck versus a factory one, and if we can tell the difference. So I think that'll be kind of a cool video to make of that 175 stock nozzles. So we'll start tearing stuff apart and kind of go from there. But that's really a lot of the highlights right now for the channel, or for the 6-liter, I should say. That I am going to do a video talking about the cam and the icon heads exclusively. That will be coming very soon. Which brings me to the 6.7 Powerstroke, because we certainly have not forgotten about the 6.7. You guys know I love this truck very much. Not as much as I love my 6-liter, but I still really like the 6.7. But so the 6.7, we got to take a different route. The EPA, now the DOJ, is now clearly actively pursuing people. Now additional sellers, they must not have made enough money this year or something, so they're going after other people. But the point I want to talk about here is that there's still a modification path for the 6.7 that keeps you completely within the law. I know it's not as exciting as how much horsepower can we make, but that was never the intent of our 6.7 to begin with. The big goal for that is really that we're looking to how efficient can we make it? How great of a tow truck can we make our F-250? So next week, I'm planning on installing the 60-gallon fuel tank from Titan tanks with Phil. So we'll be doing that. I'll be showing you with Forescan. I have it on the laptop now. I'll be showing you how to adjust so you don't have to go pay a dealer to adjust your miles till empty. We're going to show you how to do that yourself with basically a cheap OBD2 connector to your laptop, and that'll be cool. And you can do that all free. I didn't pay for Forescan yet. I do plan to, but you do it every 2 months free license, and you can do everything. You can have full access to stuff. So I'll be showing you how to use Forescan to actually go into the different modules of your truck and start making adjustments and goofing around a little bit. We will be doing that more because, well, it's getting cold, and I think we're going to need remote start on it as well. So I'm going to see how little money basically can we spend and still get remote start on our 6.7 Powerstroke. So that is a video that is also coming soon. I'm just pulling up and seeing how cheap are the keys. I guess I should put the actual truck in. Here's a real cheap set. They need cut, but they're $20. I imagine they're not the greatest quality, but we'll see. We're going to mess around with them a little bit. And then if they don't work nicely, we'll probably turn around and get like an actual Ford key. But I think they're not bad too. I think they're like $150 to $300. Well, I think the keys are $150. I think there's another kit for like another $100. So, we're going to show you how to install the head unit. So those guys that know my particular 6.7 had the most basic of entertainment centers. It just had a literal CD player and radio, nothing fancy. So I would have thought the 6.7 would have remote start from factory. Well, a lot of them do. But so my truck was originally a fleet vehicle for somebody. There are two upgrades. So we have a crew cab short bed, we have four-wheel drive, but we still have a manual shifter for it, for the four-wheel drive manual transfer case, and the diesel option. Those are the only upgrades that they did. Everything else is as bare bones as possible. Um, I'm actually a little shocked that it has the volume and the sync stuff in, but it was an old version of sync that's crap. But what the head unit that I put in actually allows that to do is when you have Android Auto hooked up, it allows you to use that talk button for Google Assist, which is really cool and really nice because I can just tell it, to play Spotify, play top country hits and stuff like that. Or, if you guys are into rap, whatever you want to listen to, it's so easy while you're driving. You don't have to take your eyes off the road at all. You hit a button and it's all taken care of for you. So with the newer trucks, remote start is actually in the body control module on those, and most of them come pre-programmed. There are a couple things you need. That is a hood piece under the hood. If that's not there, you need to get that. I'm looking for the full kit here to show you everything, or to tell you everything you might need. So that is there's an antenna that's optional, and it really just lets you have better distance to doing it, like how far away you can activate your remote start. Then I can't find it. I can't find it because I can't remember what the heck it's called. But basically what it is it allows you to, it's a security latch under. So when your hood's closed, it's compressed. And if you're not careful, you can set it off if your truck's locked, but your hood's up, which I've done. And then for some reason, I hit that piece that's typically compressed and my alarm went off. So that was a fun, dumb moment for me. But so it's pre-programmed into the body control module. It needs activated, and ForScan will let you do that. So that's one of ForScan will allow you to turn a lot of things that are turned off from factory, turn them on in your vehicle. So that's another thing we're going to be working on doing, is turning a lot of that stuff on so we have access to it. Like if you wanted to upgrade your climate control instead of the basic ones there, if you say you pulled one from a junkyard, you can turn the climate control function on. The dual climate is another fiasco because in order to do that, you have to actually change a lot of stuff. Apparently, like the whole dash has to come apart. It can be done. I don't know that it's worth it, but I do plan to put climate control in to upgrade from the basic controls to that. That's not going to do a whole lot, honestly, but it'll be a cool little upgrade at the same time that I think people will like and want to watch that, because I think there'll be a lot of people in a similar boat. Truck prices are crazy right now. They'll buy a used truck that might not have all the options, and basically we're going to upgrade it to a Lariat. So even the Lariat dash cluster you can put in, I have a screen that, other than it's not as big as I would like it, like it's an 8-inch screen on the ones equipped with it, but it does more stuff than the 8-inch model. So I'd rather have the extra features than the bigger screen. Ideally, I could have both, and I've gone looking for it, and there just isn't a great answer for it. They are a little more expensive because you have to buy more crap to go with them. Because you have to now overcome a lot of the factory stuff that's there and work with the sync modules. So, but there is a way to do it. I have done it. All my factory stuff works still and has purpose, so it can be done. But it is a little annoying to have to do, unfortunately. But at least it's something we can do, because I'd be more annoyed if we weren't able to make anything happen with it. Just some dumb side notes of the newer trucks that are hard to kind of work with, but there are companies that have gotten the workaround. So I love a good sound system. We're going to put a crazy one in the 6.7. It'll be better than any factory 6.7 sound system that's out there by a wide margin. And I'll take you guys all along for it. That will be a little in the future. We're going to finish the sound system in the 6-liter since it's most of the way done. And then we'll start toying with the 6.7 sound system, but I wanted the head unit in there, so I had Google Maps and all that stuff in there, and that's working out really good. I need to show you guys that video, and I'm trying to find a balance between 6-liter videos and 6.7 videos because I don't want to do just all of one type. I want to go back and forth. So expect a 6.7 video coming very soon, just because I think it needs done. And I think I'm going to do a comparison of the two and which one I like more. I think you guys know which one I like more, but I just want to talk about it a little bit. There's a lot of people wondering, should they buy a 6-liter or should they buy a 6.7? So I think that's kind of an interesting topic to get into, even though we haven't really talked a ton about it yet. I do want to, because I think it's a valid conversation to have. Excuse me. But what features do you guys, I know there's not a ton of us hanging out right now, but what features do you guys want to see in, like, me talk about in the 6.7? Do you guys want to see, like, what do you want to see me install on it? Like, performance wise, there's some stuff to do. I'm in the process of figuring out. We are going to do emissions compliant tuning for the 6.7. Pusher intake has a really cool piping kit that gets rid of all the factory junk, still emissions compliant, but still drastically increases your flow in the vehicle. I want to work on getting injector replacements are coming. Wait, Chad, is that for the 6.7 you want to see injector replacement? So the 6.7 will have I got to figure out how to get the air intake to function correctly on that without throwing a check engine light. So they're just really finicky trucks, which I need to work on figuring out how to mess with. Somebody said you can reset the MAF and MAP sensor tables. So when you do a air intake, it will learn how it's running right now as opposed to how it was running. So I am going to try that at some point. Well, Chad, you're in luck because I think I need to do injectors in the truck. I do have an injector video out there. It's not great, but I am getting ready to do a couple 6-liter injector videos. We're going to tear down one of my Warren Diesel 175 stock nozzled injectors and show that off and how that's doing. Then we're going to turn around and show what a factory injector looks like. So it's going to be a side-by-side comparison, which I think will be really cool for people to see. And then I'm probably going to build a set of my own 6-liter injectors, but I won't be able to really show that because there's some proprietary stuff from those companies. But there will be besides the injector physical teardown, there will be how to install injectors with links to all the tools you'll want to have on hand for that as well, for both early and late style 6-liters. So there'll be everything you need to replace it. So which truck seems more lively, the 6-liter or 6.7? That's not even a fair comparison. So the 6.7 is stock. Other than some small things I've done, but none of them are performance. I tried doing the air intake, that through check engine lights. I tried using the SCT tuner, that through check engine lights. So I need to still get both of those things resolved, but I haven't yet. Mainly because there's some work in the background that needs to happen, which is always frustrating, but I am going to work on that nonetheless. But the 6-liter, my 6-liter walks all over my 6.7 all day long. It's not a fair comparison at all. The 6-liter is a much funner truck to drive. That being said, it's old now, and you really feel how old it is in comparison. I think once I replace some things, like I think once I do the cab mounts, I get fresh shocks on it the whole way around. I think a lot of that will kind of go away. But right now it feels ancient compared to driving a 6.7. The 6.7 is just a much smoother, nicer ride, but we are going to bring the 6-liter up to current standards, but just it's a rough riding truck at the moment. But it sat for 3 years, so it needs a whole new system. I think once all the suspension's done, I have ball joints. I'm gonna try Mevotech, I believe it is. I've heard a lot of good things about them lately, so we're gonna try them on the 6 liter for ball joints. I think that'll help a fair amount in improving ride quality too. I think once everything's replaced, because it needs it badly on the 6 liter. So there'll be a lot of videos coming on suspension. I have a 05 to current suspension video out that's still spot on accurate. The next time I do a video for those suspension, I actually want it to be upgrading parts to nicer things. So we'll be doing some upgrades, not factory replacements. On the 6 liter, I don't really have any videos on it, so I want to do a video on factory replacement of all the stuff, because a lot of guys want to stick factory. And then once a lot of those parts wear out, we're going to turn around and do how do you upgrade that 99 through 04 suspension, like what upgrade parts are available for it. So we'll get both perspectives on each, just like we have on the newer trucks already. So that's something I plan to do here in the next year, because that whole front suspension needs redone. Heck, the rear suspension needs redone on the 6 liter. Apparently you can't let them sit as long as I did. But yeah, the 6 liter, much more lively, much more entertaining to drive. The 6 liter is going to probably get me in trouble for having too much fun while driving. I do want to really race it again. I don't know why, but I think it's entertaining as anything to have a lifted 3/4 ton pickup truck running down the track, especially after I go, because my next injector size is going to be 205/30s. With the GXR7 turbo, that's going to really max out the turbo. I think it'll be a little, I think on a full race tune, it'll be a little smoky. But that's okay, because we're going to eventually put a 400 series turbo in front of the VGT, and then we'll be good to go. I digress. How many miles on 6-liter injectors usually last? This is hard. If you're not great with your maintenance, I would say expect 100. If you're really bad with your oil changes and stuff and fuel filter changes, if you get 100,000 out of them, you're lucky. If you are really good with those and you're using arch oil in there, if you're using arch oil, you're putting regular oil changes in, like don't go much over 5,000 for your oil changes. You want to make sure that you're using a good oil. Motorcraft is sufficient. I'll say it again. Motorcraft oil is a sufficient oil for these trucks. Warren Diesel won't warranty injectors if you use Rotella T6 or is it 4 or T5? I forget which one is the other one they use. Schaefer's, Motorcraft or Schaefer's are really probably the only ones I recommend in the 6-liter. I know AMSOIL is very, very popular, and they advocate for like these crazy long oil change intervals. The problem with that on a 6-liter is that a 6-liter is a HUE injector. So it's a excuse me. It is a hydraulically actuated injector. It is brutal on oil. So you don't want to be extending oil changes on a 6-liter. It's cheap insurance to just every 5,000 miles change it. I recommend Motorcraft or Schaefer's is the only thing I would run. I recommend Arch Oil oil additive. It is an excellent product, and I do firmly believe it helps in the longevity of the injector and these trucks as a whole. I started running it in my 6.7 as well. A lot of things that there used to be just better oil out there, and like while we've gotten a lot of good oil now today, but like zinc is something they really push on higher end oils, and you don't see that in like Motorcraft or even Rotella really. It's all an additive you have to add on top of an oil change, which kind of is annoying. I'd rather someone just make a good oil that essentially has this stuff in it already. Uh, so yeah, if you're taking care of your injectors, you can expect a lot more miles out of them. I have personal friends uh, that I've met over the years that had 200 plus 250,000 miles on stock injectors, and they seem to be running strong, but they were religious about oil changes on them. Having an odd issue with your 6.0 transmission. Issue is short shift between second and third at mid to wide open throttle. So you're running blessed performance. No revisions. All right, Terry, I'm going to talk about your issue in just a second. Chad, so you have, I see you just have a Livewire TS Plus. I'm trying to figure out where yours fits into the conversation happening. Just married it to the truck and did a plus 25. I think you're just commenting on what tuner you're running, which SCT on 6 liters is the way to go. I'm not a diehard fan of the Livewire monitor, but as far as tuning goes, it's perfectly fine. It's no different than the X3 that I have in my 6 liter or X4 that's become more popular since. Terry, so you're having a short shift with that tune. Have you had it with any other tunes you've run, or is Blessed the only tunes you've run? The one thing I would say is I would reach out to him and just see if he's able to maybe do a revision to it. Would be my question. I would reach out to him and just see. The one thing is, second to third isn't typically a bad shift. Yeah, it might just need that shift point moved up a little bit. The other thing you could try first would be a transmission relearn. Oh gosh, there's a way to do this. Let me see if I can find. I forget how to. If you transmission relearn. Yes. Actually, Blessed Performance has a video on this. How many miles do you have on the tune, Terry? Chad, and I keep commenting. I love watching all this as people keep talking in the chat. And when I was doing these all the time, I love that people were like, you'd see people that became friends in the chat from just coming to these all the time. I used to love that. That was always something really fun for me. And I know it seems weird, but it just was a neat thing, byproduct of this. So, if you have 10,000 miles on the tune, I will say this: I don't know if Blessed will just give a update to that after 10,000 miles, just because it's a little bit of a of time. I do want to put a copy. Oh, it won't let me because it's too long. Let me type it quick. I want to share the video he did of doing a transmission relearn, because I think that could be helpful. Oop. There, that should take you to the Blessed Performance video. Let's hear Camo Gang. Oil cooler just went. That's always frustrating. 06, both crew cab, 4x4 bulletproof, no tunes, no EGR delete. Well, question, why don't, do you like the truck and you're just You don't want to deal with the issue. It's not a bad job to replace the oil cooler and EGR cooler. You do need to do both. And I would use a bulletproof diesel EGR cooler personally. And a factory oil cooler, the Ford OEM oil cooler. Did it milkshake on you, or is it did it burst, or are your deltas way out of whack? Because those are two different issues that you have to address at that point. Because if it actually broke and you have oil mixing with coolant, well, you have a big flushing process ahead of you, and it's not fun. But if it just has your deltas out of whack, it's actually not that bad to deal with. At that point, it's really just a matter of doing a coolant flush or two with distilled water, and then turning around and buying the parts and just tearing it down. It takes if you haven't done the job, it takes a day or two, and I have a whole video on it, so it's not like it's terrible to contend with, so to speak, but it is a little bit of work, admittedly. Just looking through Bulletproof Diesel to see how much the EGR cooler is. If you're looking to stay with that. So it looks like you're about $465 to $365 for the Bulletproof Diesel one, depending on if you have new or old style. Well, that's funny. They sell a PPE one, $360 across the board. So that would be my recommendation there. And then oil cooler. Let's see what an oil cooler is. Sorry, just taking a second to. In fact, you can get the whole Ford kit with everything you need. EGR cooler and oil cooler for $300. Something to consider. Wanting to buy ready to run from Kyoto. Is there anything else that I need to change from stock to be able to run that motor? Oh, yeah, Chad, I can send that link. Oh, this isn't from Dale's Superstore. So Peter, you're looking to buy. So Peter, first, just to know, is there anything wrong with your engine now? Not that I don't love Kill Devil Diesel stuff, because you guys know I do. We're gonna quick look up the old Kill Devil Diesel. I do love these guys. So when you're looking at buying one of their crate engines, I guess that would be under 500 horsepower, ready to go. Oh, yeah, so you need an engine. The only reason I ask is because a lot of times I get people looking at the builds I'm running, and they're saying, like a lot of people want to do a similar build to what I've done on my truck. But their engine's perfectly fine. And I just don't want people to spend that money if it's like if they don't need to. So you're looking at the complete crate engine, level 1, 500 horsepower. So you would definitely want the bulletproof diesel EGR cooler because it's vastly better than the factory one. Let me just see what's in this build. So that's too hard. They get a lot right on this. They do not disappoint. Lifters. You get their stage 1 camshaft, which is nice. And I do want to say this would 100% do more than 500 horsepower with and handle it all day long. So looking at 18.6. So Peter, I want to say this. You would not need anything else per se as long as your fuel pump is healthy. They have a mild injector upgrade on that build, the 155 stock nozzle. But I do want to talk to you about one thing. And that is I'm going to talk you out of I'm going to attempt to talk you out of spending that amount of money on that. Because there's stuff you just don't need in that. They have a lot of different stuff here. Like, I just don't want to see you spend like 18.3 is a lot of money. When you could get a long block that wouldn't require a ton more assembling, and I feel like you'd probably like if you're not worried about. I'm trying to save you money. Is what I'm trying to do. So, Peter, are you doing the work yourself? Is a shop doing it? Because I'd rather see you spend a little bit less money, and I think in the end get every bit the engine that you're getting there. Like if you go under their long blocks, which is basically all but fully assembled, you have a front plate that needs to go on, and the rear main needs to go on it yet. But your high pressure oil pump rails are all there. Like it's ready to rock and roll already, and it's got a ton of new parts. Plus, then you could go to the stage. You could go to the stage 2 and Icon series heads and be in 13,850. So still a crazy amount of money we're talking, guys. But like you could literally get ported heads and still not be, ported Icon heads and not spend that much. Or you could go a stage 2 Icon heads and upgraded connecting rods and still not spend that much. So I would recommend considering that. Now I will say this. That leaves out your turbo. $20K for stock. So here's what I would do. Especially if you're looking at doing a lot of this yourself, I would purchase one of their long blocks. Let me see what upgrades. If you get the stage 2, you get 100 PSI valve springs, you get custom age studs, The pistons are coated. You get a soft radius machine bowl and valve relief, stage 2 cam. So what I would do is I'd get a stage 2 with icon heads. That's $13,850. That engine's going to take just about all the abuse you ever will throw at it, man. You're not going to have to worry about that. It's going to flow much better. I mean, essentially at that point you had, I don't know how they get, I mean, if they're buying from Ford, then yeah. I mean, if you get this at 13.8, they're going to have maybe another 4 hours finishing assembling it. So consider another $500. There's no way they have more than 10 hours in putting it in. If they, well, I mean, maybe 15 if they have to pull it out. I don't see how they get 20 for a factory engine unless they're buying a factory one from Ford. Are you able to pull an engine yourself? Because you could save yourself a crap ton of money. Or do you even have the place to? Because then getting this long block, putting a couple more pieces on, and you're good to go. At least at that point, you're good to go. And that's going to be a much better engine, in my opinion. Because to make 500 horsepower reliable on a 6-liter, you really need a turbo and injectors and studs. You don't need, like, the 500 horsepower ready to run truck or kit is really just, I mean, it's nice that can drop completely in and you just got to connect your wiring harnesses and stuff. But it's just a lot of money for the convenience. Now, I think it's worth it. I don't think he's ripping anyone off. I'm a big believer in Kill Devil Diesel. But it just depends on your comfort level. I would ask him for a quote about a Kill Devil Diesel. And see if they're willing to do it. Now, I will say this. It is a little bit of wait time to get that. But that long block isn't going to take much more assembly. And you'll have a lot of brand new, you'll have new oil cooler still, a completely machine. Like, it has all the perks of the ready to run, but then it's just putting your stuff on it. Now, if you want to upgrade down the road, then yeah, you have that option too. I have videos, and trust me, you can put the ODOG intake on. I have a video on it showing how I do it. It's not a terrible project. It is a little bit of work, but it's not an awful project either. So, there's stuff like that you could do. I just want to save you money if I can. I would talk to them about this Kill Devil Diesel long block and what it would cost to put your stuff on it. And if they're willing to do it. If they're not willing to do it, I'd go find a Kill Devil Diesel dealer. Personally speaking, because there's no reason, like, it's just going to be better than any Ford head or Ford 6-liter. I personally really do love it. I love my Kill Devil Diesel truck. It's a freaking great product. And the icon heads are awesome. Still very thankful that those were sent out to me. Now, I will say this. I would recommend a 175 stock nozzle injector over 155s. You'll still need tuning to run it, but it's a better injector in my opinion. You get a little more oomph. That's what I'm running in my truck. Um, I'm gonna be going through my injectors after I put the new set in and repairing whatever the issue is, then selling my injectors in the near future. Uh, so, but I'm gonna go through them all. They were Warren premiums. For turbo, I would highly recommend Turbo Time USA for that. And I'm gonna bring up. I have so many tabs open on this right now, trying to show you guys stuff, but I'm going to make a recommendation on turbo that I think would be perfect um, for your build, um, especially if you're saying on the milder side. Where is, oh, here it is. So it's their stage 2 type S. So it's a 64 millimeter turbo. It will clean up the top end of this very nicely. I'm going to put a link to it here. Let me just make sure I haven't. Chad from Texas. I want to see Texas. I've never been, but I hear it's awesome. I'm sorry, 50K for engine as in cost, or 50,000 on your engine. Nick, I agree. Stock long block with just a few upgrades is not constant. Long block and putting stuff on. I love my icon heads, Nick. I'm sorry. So Peter, I do want to talk about this. So I really want to steer you in the right direction. And when you go down this rabbit hole, it is easy to start spending money that you don't need to spend. That's probably odd coming from somebody that their channel is really based around a highly modified 6 liter and not leaving stuff alone. The icon heads, in my opinion, are worth the upgrade. They're a great product. I think your most affordable way to what you want, I did the builder series. They used to call it build in a box. I did a stage 2, stock rods and icon heads, and this got me coated pistons. Was really the big upgrade, and the ARP studs. I got the aged head studs. I love it. It is the most affordable way to get all this stuff. I wish I bought the long block. It would have saved me a tremendous amount of time. And honestly, probably would have saved me money. Yeah, I probably would have spent less money had I got that instead of it. But I really think I think a stage 2 long block is perfect for you. I think anything more, you're not getting any good return on investment. Stock connecting rods are good for a lot of horsepower. You're never gonna bend one without something causing it to happen. That's just bad. I think the 175 stock nozzle injectors would be a perfect fit. I love towing with that setup. I towed with the Kill Devil Diesel iron heads, so the worst flowing head, not the worst flowing. They're better than factory, but they don't flow super great. A stage 2 Colt cam. It was a great upgrade. And then the BD exhaust manifolds, all this fun stuff that you can really add later. And we'll have videos on it on how to do it. So it's not something you have to worry about doing right now. I will say, if you could, the BD exhaust manifolds are a nice upgrade in my opinion, but certainly not needed. The Turbo Time USA Turbo, use 6.0 Bros for. I'm going to put my code down here. It's an affiliate code. It gets you 5% off though on your truck, or on your turbo, not your truck. Sorry. You would like you would never want for more. That combination, I had a Power Max turbo, which doesn't perform as well as that turbo. Emphasis on perform. We're not just talking overall airflow, we're talking how fast it spools up. That turbo I gave you a link to is going to outperform a Power Max all day long. That setup tows better than my 6.7 and gets the same fuel economy. Except the last time I towed with that setup, I had bigger tires and lower gears on my 6 liter, and it still got the same fuel economy, except it was a much better performing tow truck. 100%. I will take that 6 liter against any factory 6.7, and it'll literally wipe the floor with them while towing. It also isn't a crazy build. You don't need to have an aftermarket regulated return. You just need a healthy factory pump. You don't need any kind of crazy this, that, or the next thing. There are things you can do to improve it, don't get me wrong, but they're all bolt-on stuff you can add later. It's not really a big deal to do. And again, we have videos showing you guys how to do that stuff. So, and if we don't have videos on it, we have videos coming on it. So it's not really a big deal in that regard either. Just don't get carried away looking for crazy stuff. There's no reason to spend, like, I just don't see how they get 20 grand. That's me. But I would look for somebody that would be able to buy the Kill Devil Diesel long block. You know, like I said, the stage 2 with icon heads, great build, is 13, just shy of 14 grand, which is still a lot of money. I don't want to act like that's not a lot of money. That's a lot of money, but it's cheaper than the 20 for a factory engine. Wasn't confident on my 6.0, but I started with basics, ICP, all glow plugs. Now I rip that. The 6 liter is meant to be taken apart, in my opinion. Like, from a repair standpoint, how it comes apart makes sense and it's easy to do. I don't feel the 6.7 is like that at all. I feel like the 6.7 is a bit of a pain to do a lot of stuff on. Without, at least like with the pusher intake system I keep referencing, I think then you kind of gain some of that, the ability to mess with it back. But in factory form, you'll send me. So it's funny you say that, because I really want to actually do this. But I'll say this, I'm a lot like Chad, in the sense of, well, at least in this perspective, I don't know Chad personally, but I was not confident tearing these trucks apart. Now I am. And it just took time, and I did my research and I learned a lot. But Peter, it's funny you say that, because I actually really want to do well, I want to do head studs particularly, but I would, because I think that video would go really well. But I would like, I mean, doing an engine would be really cool too. I do have a buddy that I want to install his O-Dog intake for him, that he's talking about being willing to drive out here if I can make it happen. He's across the state or country, excuse me, not state. I wish it was just state. Peter, where do you live? Let's talk about that. Because it would be cool to do. You are a minute away, brother. I'm on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. I don't know how you would get your truck to me. I think you would spend more in getting your truck to me than you would in overpaying. It's a shame you're not on the East Coast, because I could probably help get your truck up here. And if you were okay with it being down for a bit of time, Well, Peter, I guess at that point, sound off. So, Peter, let me ask this. Oh, it's been down for a couple. Yeah, well, so I'm getting over a little bit of a cold on top of all this. But hold on one second. Let me quick get it because there's someone I missed. Peter, we're going to keep talking about this. There's a tow question. I have a towing question. What driving tip helps a 6-liter stay happy? I have a 2004 Excursion 2-wheel drive. So, the one thing I'll say that I think a lot of people are afraid and baby their 6-liter way too much. If there's one thing I think you could do to help it stay happy, I would say at least every other time you drive it, find a good section of road and floor it. Yeah, for about a quarter mile, you're going to get real bad fuel economy, but it's a quarter mile a couple times you drive it. But that'll put the vanes through their whole range of motion, from super closed all the way openish. Which I will say this is actually really rare for that to happen. I think the most they typically open up is to like 30%. The lowest they can be commanded is 15, and you don't ever want to see 15 unless you're idling and your tune is cycling through it. Oil frequent, or 5,000-mile oil changes. If it sits, like if you get 6 months and you still haven't hit 5,000 miles, I would change your oil and filter. Fuel filters at a minimum every 10,000 miles or yearly, whichever comes first. Both filters at that, lower and upper. Coolant maintenance, depending on if you're still running Ford Gold, it's a good coolant, but it's a maintenance heavy coolant as well. So there's a lot you got to kind of do with that, but those are some of the best things you could do to really keep your 6-liter happy and monitor it. I have a video talking about things to monitor. We'll be doing another video soon, but your FICM voltage, your oil and coolant temp deltas, transmission temps. Somebody referenced in here the 6.4 transmission filter, which does require a deeper pan. I'm a fan of going to a upgraded pan, not just the 6.4 pan, but something like a. Let me put this in here. Wait, 5R110. I'm going to put an affiliate link down here for something I would recommend. Man, Mag High Tech is expensive right now. But they're also the only ones popping up on Amazon at the moment, so that's a little weird. But it's good. I really like this pan. Let's see if I can find the cheapest one of the Mag High Tech. Here we go. This is what I would personally recommend for a transmission pan for the 5R. I have the BD version because it's what the guy that built my transmission had at the time, so it worked. But yeah, keeping your fluids clean, I think is a good. Drive it like a rental. That's hysterical, Peter. But not terribly wrong. Nick, I agree. I do need something a little better than water for this, but we'll suffice with water. I'm still getting over a cold, some sinus nonsense here that's been very frustrating. And then talk consecutively for an hour, and this will happen. I do have some ginger ale down here. I'm going to switch to once this. Sometimes I feel like that is a little nicer. How hard is to replace cab mounts on a 2011 6.7? Not any harder than replacing it on the other years. I'm going to be doing a cab mount replacement on the 6-liter. We're going to go to the S&B ones, which are one cheaper than the Ford ones, and they're overall better. I'm going to get another affiliate link here for you guys. Assuming they're on Amazon anyway, which they're not. SNB's been really weird lately about some of their dealer stuff. Yeah, no, I can't find them at all. The SMB kit is the nicest. Go to SMB's website or one of their dealers and buy them. Because they're just a better product, and you don't have to buy as many parts because they sell you the whole kit with everything you need, whereas Ford, for every mount you need, you have to buy 3 different pieces. So just buy the SMB kit. It doesn't seem hard. Like I said, I will be doing a video on it, but that's not coming right now. It'll be in the near future though. The Ford tech in your area told you the exact same thing you're saying now. Drive it like a 16-year-old. Smokey and the Bandit. I love that. Why'd they disable the parking assist? Eric, I will be showing ForeScan on there, which will allow you to reactivate that. I'll be going through some of that in the near future, so stay tuned for me showing ForeScan on the 6.7 and the 6 liter at that, but there's more stuff you can play with on the 6.7. You're finally down to final 3. Is it all glow plugs, Eric? Some things to consider with glow plugs a lot of people don't talk about. If you've replaced the glow plug module, you've replaced the glow plug itself and the harness, and you're still getting a code for that glow plug, likely the wire going to the glow plug harness from the module is shorted out somewhere. So you need to run a new length of wire, and that'll actually a lot of times fix it. That happened on my 6 liter, so I had a glow plug down. That's now fixed. But something to 3 on one side. 3 on one side. I'm not saying 3 on one side couldn't be out. It just seems odd. I would probably look at your module and seeing if your module isn't bad. Typically, when you get one on like the same side like that, it can be that just they need replaced. So I'm not saying that can't be it. But typically speaking, there's another issue happening. I would check wires and stuff first, ohm them all out, and see how they're doing from there before just buying them. Fortunately, glow plugs aren't like super expensive. Let's see here. I don't want diesel logic. I just want factory glow plugs. There we go. Motorcraft. Should not be this hard to find a set of glow plugs that are Ford. Ew, that says $50. That's wrong. Yeah, 6 liter glow plugs aren't bad. He's talking about a 6.7, which I am not sure where they mount on them. Sometimes the 6.7 has a few more things in the way. I'm not sure if it's easiest to get them from up top or down low. I don't know if the harness is easier to mess with. Oh, Eric, on your O3, my bad, man. I thought you were talking about your 6.7. Mongoose is here. What up, man? How you doing, brother? So, oh yeah, now I have heard good things about. I think it's Diesel RX glow plugs for the 6.7 or for the 6 liter. I would still check all your wiring first. I would not recommend just going and replacing them without checking wiring and the module. But I think they're about like $10 a piece or something like that. And it's definitely not terribly hard to do them on a 6 liter. Some people prefer to pull them from up top. There is a tool. I do need to do the Fickum hater shirt. I was actually just talking about that the other day with somebody about doing the Fickum hater because I do think that's a cool idea. I actually have not been even on the website for my merch recently. Very quick log on now and see. It's not loading my stuff. There we go. Um, so yeah, I gotta get the Fickum hater shirt. Is Ford staying with the yes? The 6.7, it'll probably be illegal. The T-shirt or your truck? uh, Mongoose, why are you moving to California? We need to take the good people in California and bring them out to freedom. Ah, moving to Cali on purpose. God bless. It's a Mia. What's up, brother? Uh, all right, Mongoose. That's fair. Duty calls. Just when you're done, come home to freedom. Places that don't suck. California kind of sucks. I've never been there, but I will say, no part makes me want to go. Eric. Hey, there's always Pennsylvania. We're still pretty cool. Our governor's trying to not let us be cool, but we're still technically cool. What was I just about to? I was about to look something up. So, yeah, the 6.7 is still going to be around, which brings me to something I really hate. Uh, I hate that Ford is going to have a high output version of it. That upsets me so much. I don't think there's any major changes overall for it. Uh, trying to see. I see people talking about the oil pan, which is a terrible pain in the butt to the upper oil pan. I'm not seeing much. I haven't really gone in looking if they've made any major changes. I do know they have the high output version. I want to talk about that. I hate it so much. Dodge does a high output version, and I have no idea why the best selling diesel truck in the game is following suit with Dodge. Let's talk about that. Excuse me, Ram. I know Dodge people get a little touchy about this. That being said, I want Dodge to stop doing it. Just use your highest spec engine in your truck with your best transmission combo. I hate that there's a high output and a standard. It frustrates me. Both companies doing that drive me nuts for that because, um, yes, you're correct. The high output has some differences to it. I want to say it was exhaust manifolds, a tune, and a reworked intake plenum. I think was the biggest thing. Let's see here. High output 6.7 Powerstroke changes. Uh, I've seen it multiple times. I just can't remember. There's a talk about it somewhere. It's not anything crazy, but it drives me nuts that they're doing it. I don't like that they're just offer your best engine and call it a day. The amount of money you spend for a standard 6.7 Powerstroke is already astronomical. What is it, like a $10,000 option? You should have the best that they have at that time at that cost. It upsets me they don't do that. And the same goes for Dodge. It should just be there. Your best transmission, your best spec engine, period. These are expensive trucks. Um, and like I'm not picking on Ram at the moment or Dodge, whoever. Um, I just don't think there should be two different versions of the exact same engine. If they wanted to do like I don't know what liter they would put, but if they wanted to do a smaller V8 diesel engine, I would be okay with that. If they did a cheaper V like a 6.1 or something, or that would be perfectly fine in my book. Provided the cost was associated with it appropriately as well. But this high output stuff, this is crap. That's ridiculous. They should have never done that. Oh, my merchandise is what I'm looking for. Well, so sales are 0 in the merchandise department for the last month here. Uh, I never did a ton in merch sales, to be perfectly honest. I need to buy more of my own merch, um, but it is a marketing strategy. No wonder you're sitting. RAM high is tuning plus. You can only get the trans. But Ram shouldn't do it, and neither should Ford. I'm mad at both of them for this. Um, Go watch the Kardashian stuff. Mongoose, is that your wife? That's your wife, right? Uh, and I agree. She has great taste in quality programming here at 6.0 Bros. That's too funny. I think it's hilarious that you guys watch. I but it is a don't you guys watch separately too? I think that's also entertaining. But you keep Mongoose in line over there. That's really the takeaway. uh What's up, Robert? How are you doing, man? Could your brother take you if he sneaks up on you from behind? uh Eric, you sound like you're here for Josh now. No, I'm gonna say no, he couldn't. Ninja, what's up, man? Don't give Josh ideas. Yeah, he'll take you up on it. Okay, he will jump me on live stream. Time to switch to the old ginger ale, like I said. Fortunately, I'm set up in a way that he would not really be able to jump me here, but he could easily jump me anywhere else. Mongoose, I did want to ask though, I can't remember, are you career army, or are you like, is there a deadline when you'll be done and you'll move back to a free state? But I also want to take a moment and thank you for your service as well, man. Because of brave people like you, I get to do stupid stuff like this and try to entertain people. So I do seriously. And anybody else that is a veteran, has served, is getting ready to serve, thank you, all of you guys, for what you do. I can't tell you how much it means to me and many other people, what you guys do for us. So thank you very much for everything you guys do. I wish I could thank you guys enough. Don't give Josh's idea. Just got on. I have not changed out the HVAC blower on the 6.7, but it's really like the truck just doesn't have a lot of miles. It's got 57,000 miles on it. And I put 20 of those. I put a little over 20,000 miles on it. Wow, I drive a lot because I've only had it a little over a year, like a year and 3 months. But I have not had to mess with that yet. The Alice truck's run good for a little while, but now has another high pressure oil leak. That sucks. So, Robert, when I did that on my truck, Chad, did I miss one of yours? Did I miss one of your questions, Chad? Because I didn't mean to. And if I did, if you could just repost it, I will answer that. Mongoose, anytime, brother. Seriously, it does mean the world to me what men and women do serve in this country. And I will tell a really funny story about me in a my first college class in a moment that talks about how strongly I feel about this topic and me yelling at a teacher. Robert, though, when I first did that on my 6 liter, I butchered the high pressure oil pump. I think it's a black O-ring that presses into the cover. I messed that one up and had to redo it. I destroyed that O-ring. That was one leak that I created myself. So I would consider double checking that. Well, I would also just pressure test it and save yourself the issues otherwise. Just because that at least makes sure you know where it's coming from. Uh, Mongoose's wife. Is that evil? Evil mom? Is that what that's supposed to be? Evil mom? You don't seem evil to me. Um, anyway, are you serving too? Well, I guess in my opinion, like you have just as much rough as any, even if you're not active military yourself. Um, the spouses of military members have so much going on as well. Um, Mercury Mariner, Marauder, excuse me. Um, but so this leads into a funny story. Then we'll get back to truck stuff. So when I was 21, I took my first college class. So I had a trades degree as an LPN, and I was starting to pursue my RN, which, as you guys know, I just finished, which only took me like 12 years. But I had this crazy English professor, and he he drove me nuts. He had made a condescending comment about the men and women that serve our country. And what he didn't realize is that 21-year-old me had zero issues yelling at him for 10 minutes. So in the middle of class, I politely raised my hand to correct him. I can't remember the exact comment, but I remember yelling at him for 10 minutes and talking about all the sacrifice our men and women go through, um, missing kids being born, first birthdays, first words, wedding anniversaries, birthdays, everything that you guys sacrifice for the betterment of the country, an entire country. To me, that's just like mind-boggling, and I will never forget yelling at him for 10 minutes. And then I stopped and looked around, and everyone in the class has their jaw wide open because they're a bunch of high school kids that never saw someone yell at a teacher for 10 minutes. And I don't want to say everything I said in there because I was a little on the aggressive side and potentially a little out of line, but I feel confident I taught him a lesson to never talk about negatively about the men and women that serve this country ever again. I'd love to run into him to see if he remembers me because it was a defining moment. You're welcome. Uh, the Panther platform. What's that, Nick? No meaning army. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Chad. You didn't replace the lines under the valve cover. Possible for air test coming soon. For the entire country and California. That's funny, man. um, yes, even California, as silly as a state as they are. Um, Mongoose, anytime, man. Oh, I see what you're saying, Nick. Uh, so Ninja, no, I'm still working on figuring out the issue on startup. Um, here's my theory is I think an injector is leaking because once it clears up, it's good. Um, so I just don't understand what it could be. If it was a leaking rear seal on the turbo, it shouldn't clear up at all. Like it should stay a consistent haze. Whereas this clears up after a couple minutes, which is more than I'd like it to stick. I mean, I don't want it to stick around at all. But once I drive it and it gets up to temp, it's not an issue. It's not throwing any codes. I don't appear to be burning oil that I can tell, and I'm keeping a pretty close eye on it still, and I'm about to do my first oil change. Um, so I think it's injectors. So I talked to DSD, and we're going to be working on injectors. So he's um he's working on finding out the cost for all the parts. I plan to repair my injectors and sell them. They're 175 stock nozzles. I'm debating turning them into 175 30s, and selling them depending on what the cost is. Um, but but I do think something needs done on my current injectors, but they run fine once they're up. So I don't know what it would be, um, other than an issue with somehow it's leaking uh, out. But depending on cost of injectors, I do plan to, whatever these parts could be, we'll go 205 30s, slap them in the truck, get a retune, and then, like I said, we'll be, whatever needs replaced on the 175 stock nozzles, and I might put it up to 175 30s depending on how much that'll run me. And then basically, I'm going to try to just sell them for relatively cheap. Um, they don't have a ton of miles on them, they just sat. So, but we'll be able to flow test them, go through them all, know that they're good before I sell them, but they are going to be something I sell soon. One second, I need to quick send a text message because I hear something upstairs and I just need to make sure. So let's see here. Coolant I am running. It's just Ford Gold in it now. It's nothing fancy. I normally really like the Cat ECL coolant, but I didn't have time to ask for that. I forgot to. So Ford Gold is fine. It just does require heavy maintenance, and that's kind of the thing. It's funny you said, "Where's my Akita?" And here she is. Izzy, come here. Come here, puppy. Come on. She's being camera shy right now. The people want you. Here's my Izzy girl. She's not having it today. She's a little camera shy. But yeah, the Ford Gold is a good coolant. I will say this. I forget what the factory recommendation is, but I would say probably every 25, 30,000 miles, um, it's not a terrible idea to just flush your system and refill. It's a good working coolant. It's just maintenance heavy. That's really the big deal. Um, if you're seeing high exhaust temps and stuff, it can break down fast. So, I would say people that are towing or are really just hard on their truck, I would really recommend uh and really recommend getting, just swapping it out. It the silicates dropping out and everything, um they're just awful when it happens. So if you replace it and maintain it, you'll be fine. That being said, if you have everything flushed out completely, I would recommend like an ECL one rated coolant. That's the Cat spec. Rotella makes a good one I've used. I've just used the Cat one. You find a Cat dealer, go buy it. It's a little expensive, but it's not terrible and it lasts a whole lot longer. Nick, yeah, and I think they're typically about $500. I'm hoping to be able to get them with a discount for a bit cheaper, um, just because I have some connections. And when I do sell my injectors, I'm not looking to make a ton of money. I'm just looking to basically break even. That's really all I want. So we'll see what happens. She just left the room. I think she's annoyed that I'm not giving her attention. She's gorgeous. I'm only here to give hubby a hard time and now see the dog. Well, evil. And I mean that with the utmost respect when I call you evil. It's just your screen name. It makes my life a lot easier. Um, I appreciate you coming and hanging out and interacting with everybody. I really like it. It's fun to me, truthfully. And yeah, the dog really is the star of the show. People like her a lot more than they like me. Uh, oh shoot. No, I did not hear I did not hear that he passed away. Uh I did not hear. Here's someone talking. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking this up now. Yeah, no, it looks like that's a shame. While I was not a big fan of his videos, um, it's always just he seemed like he cared about what he was doing, and I never heard any complaints about anyone that had worked on at his shop. That's sad to hear. It looks like he was 57. You guys may have said that. Oh yeah, 57. Uh, does anyone know what happened? Because he was young. Uh, Ron Diesel Tech Ron was such a loss. That man was amazing. I wish so much that well, I wish both of them were still alive. They were both good guys. But I really wish Diesel Tech Ron was because I would have loved to have. I don't know if he would have even had time for me to reach out to him and work with him on stuff, but it would have really been cool just to get to meet him and the influence he had and some of what he did. Yeah, would have really loved to have met him. That's a shame about Bill as well. Has anyone tried back? If so, so back flushing your oil cooler, I have seen mixed results on. Some people have had a lot of luck with it. Other people have said nothing. Here's the secret I have learned. You need to build a contraption that will allow you to also add like 10, 15 psi um, of air with the water to force it out. And when people have done that, I have heard a lot of people say that they have gotten a lot. Many people have been able to prolong their oil cooler life by doing that. So thank you, whoever hit the heart button. It was very kind of you. But yeah, no. So yeah, a lot of people have had luck with it. I have heard some people not. Typically, the guys just flushing with water. I've not heard that they've been successful, but if you go get it takes a couple different fittings, but you can basically take a Y connector. You can fit an air fitting on one side and your water on the other, and then like just a plug to push on the other side, and you can flush your oil cooler that way. But oh well, then if you already bought their kit, then yeah, just make sure to use like it doesn't take a ton. Like the cooling system on a 6 liter isn't like a high pressure setup. Like 10 psi should be enough to help flush it out, and that should be all you need. Now it might take you several times. Like I don't think you need a 2-second burst and you're done. I think you'll be flushing for a while, but it should be enough to help you. Yep. I actually ran Rotella ELC, and then I ended up getting the cat after that because I was running that prior to a cracked head, and then when the head cracked, then I took it out and put in the cat. VCR9 flush, the chemical flush from Ford. You are going to want to back flush your cooler after using this. What it does is it'll clean your whole cooling system very well. However, a lot of that stuff finds its way into your oil cooler. Do not replace an oil cooler and then do a chemical flush. Chemical flush, then you can replace your oil cooler. But even then, before replacing it, I would still back flush the crap out of it because there will be a lot of metal in your cooling system. And basically, it's a lot of corrosion and stuff that breaks off from the chemical flush. Nick, I don't know what'll happen to Powerstroke Help. There's a whole website to them. I imagine they won't just stop. I mean, it's a pretty big company at that. It's not just this small one-time shop thing. It's got a lot of guys working there. So I do think they will continue. I hope they do. Lord knows we need plenty of good guys talking about it. Like I said, maybe I didn't like all of his videos, but I don't think he necessarily. I've never heard a bad thing about someone that had their truck worked on from him. What coolant do I recommend? So we were just talking about this a little bit. So if you run Ford Gold, it's maintenance heavy. I recommend 25, 30,000 miles, just replacing it all. That way you have fresh coolant. It's good. It's not going to be in it. Oh, Izzy's back. She's just laying over there. Come on. I think she wants me to wrestle because typically we wrestle when she's down here. However, my preference is an ELC rate, an extended life coolant. I like the cat coolant. Rotella makes a good, I believe it's EC1. Cat diesel coolant rating. What is it? An ELC. Cat ELC coolant. Rotella makes one as well that I think is good. If you're going to be flushing your system, also don't forget the drain plugs on the block. There's one on each side. We're in a recession, bro. Look, I don't make the rules. I'm just saying. I do think that's valid though with the Ford Gold. Just don't think Ford Gold is good. Aluminum radiator might not fit. 03, 04 threads and tran lines are different. So I have the 03, 04, like the early style transmission lines, and it fits in the Mishimoto radiator, which I don't necessarily recommend. Which reminds me, I think IPR sells like a larger. I saw it on someone's truck, and it certainly looked larger than the other ones I saw. I would consider, personally, the IPR one is probably what I would go with. If I were to take mine out now, IPR would probably get the nod from me. It looks like a better radiator from what I can tell. They also have the high flow coolant filter, which I know I wasn't anticipating being a controversial statement the other day, but on the last video I did, it turned into a very controversial statement. People did not like what I said. Not that anybody was rude or anything. Everybody was very polite in that exchange, so it's all good. But yeah, no, I would consider their radiator or just the Ford factory one. The Ford factory one honestly does a nice job. It is not a bad radiator at all. So, yeah, that's my take on that. Aluminum radiator might not fit. I forget what the difference is between them. I know there's a lot of guys that have gotten them to work in from the early trucks with some of the Amazon stuff. I just don't know how they did it. I don't know if they changed fittings or what, but I do think if you're going to be buying an upgraded one, I think the IPR one looks like a solid one to get. In my opinion, I could be wrong. There's some validity to that, I think, but uh, I do think, all in all, it is a good setup. I'm trying to find it. I just saw it a second ago. Oh, they just have it for the different years. Although it looks like the real thick ones are out of stock. So they have a 2.75-inch thick radiator, and then they have a 1.65. But they do look pretty nice, I do have to say. I would see if they can get the thicker one in stock, though. I will say that. The Xerox G05 isn't that Ford Gold though? Mama duty's got to go. Hey, if you're still on, or if I missed you, I'm sorry, but thank you for coming and hanging out. I do really appreciate you coming and chilling, making fun of or giving your husband a hard time, and me too. But thank you. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for all you do. Let's see here. You guys need to let me know how the IPR works out. Were you able to get the thicker one? Or are you stuck with the skinnier one? And I can't remember. I did measure the factory one, I believe, at one point, or at least measured the skinny Mishimoto when I did that video. I needed to order special fittings. Yeah, the IPR price is very reasonable for all of them. You have an early 04. That's me. I have an early 04. Do the trucks have pads like excursion bypass? I'm not familiar with PATs. Um, oh, passive anti-theft system. Recommended mods for hauling 25K plus. Whew, that's some weight. What are you towing that with, first and foremost? Can I get a year truck? Because that is some weight, man. First mod, new filters. If somebody steals one of my trucks, it just better be the 6.7, because I'll have a meltdown if somebody takes my darn 6-liter. So you have an 04 dually. So I do have recommendations. You are pushing on the extreme side of weight is the first and foremost thing. So airbags would be an absolute must in the rear. 100%, I would get airbags. I would also make sure the front end suspension is up to snuff as well, meaning make sure that you have springs, leaf springs that aren't bending the other way. Excuse me. I would not recommend lifting your truck at all, but making sure that you get a fresh set of leaf springs up front would be ideal. Even with that extra leaf springs, I talk about this a little on my 6-liter because I did a dual add-a-leaf kit on each side of my 6-liter, and then I got another camper. Oh, I would feel much better if this was 25,000 combined weight. I was thinking 25,000 period. Yeah, it's a dually. I did ask that. 25 combined isn't as okay. That's not as terrible. I was thinking like, holy crap, it's still a lot of weight because you're still probably. It's just I know of people that have towed that before. I forget the weight of a dually. They're heavier, obviously, but still, my recommendation would be this. Um, so it's still about 9K for a dually. So you're still a heavy load, around 16,000 pounds. So and I can get you links for these. Just message me after the video. We can get you some links. I would recommend a quality brake setup. If you don't want to upgrade the calipers and pistons themselves, at least go to a Powerstroke drilled and slotted rotors, and their towing brake pad is a fantastic upgrade for anybody towing or daily driving. They work really well. It's in the scheme of brake upgrades, there's better out there like SSBC. Um, is a great company. I actually want to buy several of their products. But they have some big brake kits. I'm trying to find the year for them. They have even direct replacements, which is really more of what I'm interested in is the direct replacement stuff. But they have a lot of quality kits out there that can, upgrade your stuff. But the direct replacement, especially like they call it their quick change kit. Now the quick change kit, I think, uses a proprietary. It's got 3 pistons. It's about $1,000 a side. This is a rear for a 250, 350. And it's meant to be used with stock rims, which is very important in my opinion. I thought one of their kits had the 3 piston design, but used a factory everything else. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little off topic, but that would be worthwhile. Airbags, I still recommend, even if you have extra leaf springs back there, and braking power are definitely your 2 biggest friends. Now for what I think you probably actually meant, which was probably what performance upgrades can I have? Eric, I'm going to disagree with electric fans. Reason being, they don't pull in enough air. The factory fan pulls in plenty. What I would recommend is I would recommend doing a blue switch mod, which is where you tap into the blue wire mod. The blue wire, and what you can do is you can then command your fan to full speed. It will throw a soft code, meaning it won't put your check engine light on, but it will throw a code. And what that'll do is it commands your fan to full blast. So if you're about to pull a grade, or if your temps are clearly going up, you can command that on, and that will bring your temps down, because it will sound really loud when you hear that fan go full speed, but it'll be very helpful. So the next thing I want to say is some type of monitor. Torque Pro is probably the most affordable way to do it. However, the Edge CTS series monitors are vastly better. They're just more convenient. You don't need to switch to an app and stuff. You just have it there, and they'll allow you to expand. Why that's important is 6 liters don't have an exhaust probe. They don't have a fuel pressure probe or sensor. So these are things you'll need to add. And with the Edge setup, it's the easiest to do. I have the exhaust probe from Edge on my truck, and then I also have the I'm about to add the fuel pressure and some other stuff, but that way you can monitor everything you need to monitor. Fuel pressure is important to your truck running right. Exhaust temp, so you know you're not going to burn up your engine running 1500 EGTs up a hill. So you definitely want to watch that. That's all the safety stuff to talk about. Let's talk about some performance here that is geared towards towing. If you can, a 3.5-inch downpipe to a 4-inch exhaust really will open it up, and it'll help drop some of those EGTs as well, with a better flowing exhaust. On the intake side, and I'm going to talk about stuff that doesn't require tuning or turbos, all that stuff. We're going to talk about the easier stuff first. A cold air intake. I know everyone says hot air. Ignore that nonsense. Cold air intake setup, only if you would consider doing an O-Dog intake. The O-Dog intake manifold would help push more air into the cylinders, because the factory one's just very restrictive. I would recommend BD exhaust manifolds. The other thing you could do is an upgraded intercooler. That'll help with not just keeping your temps in check, but it'll also help with the efficiency of the truck. And that's really all we're talking about right now, is efficiency modifications. You could have a highly modified 6-liter and never change factory tuning. And you'd be shocked how much the improvements can be just from these very mild things. So intercooler, we talked about the O-Dog intake manifold. Air intake, if you're willing to do airflow mods, is a good way to go about it. Ignore everyone that says no. Just make sure you get a quality filter like S&B, AFE. That being said, I dislike the current model of S&B air intake for the 6-liter. I would recommend an open element or one of the AFE models that is a little bit better. But both of them are top-notch filters. Then from there, if you have the plastic side intercooler pipe, that needs to go get a No Limit Fab one or a SoCal Billet one. They are expensive, but they're a really nice piece. You'll never have issues. I also do like MBRP doesn't make the cold side pipe or hot side pipe anymore, which is a shame, because it was a really nice piece. But I would recommend switching that out to a no limit fab piece as well. Um, they flow a little better than the factory stuff. It's not much, but it can help when we're talking. I noticed a big difference in fuel economy and performance when I basically improved all the airflow of the truck. So I'm a big fan and believer of doing that on 6 liters, and it can make a tremendous impact. Now we talked all these things. I will say this: when your Y pipe goes, the BD Y pipe is hands down the nicest. Um, those are all the stuff that doesn't require tuning. You can do everything I just listed and never change your tune, and you won't have any issues. Toast to you too, Kelly. Kelly, thank you. Good to have you in here. Appreciate everyone that comes and hangs out with us. Now, we talked about braking. We talked about making sure your towing's up. We talked about monitoring stuff. And now all these modifications you can do that you don't need to change tuning. Anything above this will require tuning because there is still performance on the table to get. And if you're running a tow tune, it's like a 40 horsepower tow tune is really, really good for towing. And it doesn't require a whole lot extra. And it would allow you to upgrade your turbo. For you, since you are towing at such, you're kind of like you're in the upper limits. And I don't think I would necessarily recommend an injector upgrade for you. If you did, I would make sure your tuning is very mild because you're towing so much weight. Now, with a tune, though, it would allow you to run an upgraded turbo, and I do recommend that. And I'm going to recommend my sponsor, Turbo Time USA, is their Stage 1.5 billet. It's a 61 millimeter turbo. I'm going to put a link here for you. And then if you do look at this, here is my affiliate code for 5% off this exact turbo. This turbo, though, you can actually run on factory tuning, and it wouldn't change a whole lot. It's slightly larger on the compressor side. It's got a billet wheel. It'll flow more air than a factory turbo. It'll still spool very fast. It's got a 10-blade turbine side, so it's still going to get rid of that heat quickly. And when you're pulling grades, a lot of people like the smaller 13-blade exhaust side for the 6-liter. I hate it because when you're pulling a grade, it's a little more restrictive and you're not going to be able to stay in the truck as hard as if you had a 10 blade you'll see your temps spike and then drop immediately down to a reasonable level. And now I was only towing 13,000 pounds, so a fair amount lighter, and my truck is lighter than yours as well. But with the 10 blade, I never saw exhaust temps stay up even pulling grades. You could run that with factory tuning. I would recommend a very mild tow tune, a low horsepower tow tune. Something in the neighborhood of 40 horsepower would be perfect. You get a little extra pep, but but temps are gonna stay well within check on that. And you would love that setup, especially if you do a lot. Now, I also want to say this: I just spent a lot of your money. I would recommend. I see that you referenced being a little afraid of the cylinder head issue. If you do all the airflow mods, excluding the turbo, you don't have to worry. It will not be harder on your head bolts at all. And I will say, like, yes, if you run a little extra tuning, it is a slightly harder on things. But if you're very conservative with your tuning and just get a low, like basically a modified stock tune to run the slightly larger turbo with a little extra fueling, just to kind of help with things with getting up and going, you're not really putting. Could you blow them? Yeah, but realistically, they could blow with your current setup. But I will say this, like, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot. I would recommend at least starting with the airflow modifications. I also think you would be perfectly fine going with the turbo. I don't see the need for injectors for you at all. That turbo wouldn't handle a big injector upgrade to begin with. It would work perfect with factory injectors. Um, but I don't think, and I think you would love that. Factory injectors, excuse me. Factory injectors, that turbo I listed with my affiliate code, so you get your discount. Um, I obviously get a little bit of a kickback as well for what it's worth, full disclosure. Starting to resell me on the ready to run again. It's not a Peter, it's not a bad investment. I will say that. I would just find a shop ready to slam it in. I still stand by. I think the long block probably save you a couple bucks. A lot of those mods you can do yourself later. Like they're not hard mods to do. The intake manifold, the ODOG intake manifold, the BDY pipe, the turbo. KC turbo is fine, but I'm telling you, you would be very happy with the Turbo Time USA turbo as well. Nothing against the KC turbo at all. I'm just very partial to my sponsor who's been tremendously supportive of me. So I want to show them all the love I can. Also, they're flying me out to PRI in early December. So if anyone can come to PRI, I will be there for all 3 days of the event. It's a great advice there about fuel pressure and stuff. I've never gotten into the coolant pressure gauges, but there's also nothing wrong with them. Keep an eye on stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Also, try to only go downhill. That's optimal. PRI, it's performance racing industry. So it's a big show in 2020 every year. I think the first 2 days are for like industry stuff, and I think the weekend it opens up to the public, somebody was saying. But yeah, it's a huge show every year. It's in Indianapolis. I'm trying to see. PRI membership is required to attend. I don't know much about it, if that's not apparent. But it's a big show, and I'm not sure if people are allowed to go or not, or if it's just industry. I plan to do some videos there. But I'll definitely be doing some videos at PRI as much as I can anyway. 03 6-liter metallic sound, kind of like AC going out. Any thoughts? And my front end clunks when I hit a bump. It has brand new ball joints, hubs, and shocks. The metallic sound, I'm not sure of. When's it doing the metallic sound? And then the front end clunk, I would check all your tie rod ends, your track bar, sway bar, and end links. Are likely one of those are likely your cause of that happening. A lot of times those things are kind of tough if you're not checking them, but the sway bar I've heard make noise if the bushings are bad. They're super easy to replace though. And then the end link bushings can get bad sometimes. Track bar, if that's a little loose and the bushings wear out. Any of your steering components could be that as well. We're going to talk about more horsepower miles per gallon here in a second. Juan, if you want to reach out to me here or let me see. Let me get my Instagram here for you. I don't think I've ever logged in since I've hooked this up. So my Instagram is this. There is an H in there. That is how it's supposed to be. Oh, here we go. I think I can share this. Here's a link to my Instagram. Privately messaging me on there is probably the easiest way. I do try to do as much of my communication through YouTube, mainly just because it allows me to, like, it helps my channel with the more interaction I have. So I do try to keep it here. But if you have some specific questions, that it's a little easier to go back and forth via Instagram. And I would be happy to help with anything, truthfully. So please reach out to me. I do mean that. I'm not always great at responding right away. Ninja will tell you that, as we've talked numerous times, and I'm not always great at it. But I will get back to you, or message me a second time if I'm slow. Yes, Jared is correct. I'm working on it. I would check. I check all your idlers and stuff, like all your pulleys up front. It could be a bad bearing in one of them. These trucks are getting older. I love them, but they are getting older, and sometimes they're at that point where things that people don't typically have to replace need replaced. So I would check all your pulleys up front, check for play in them. Obviously, when the truck's off and your keys are not in the ignition. AC, compressor. Sometimes the clutch in front can come loose, like the bolts back out, and that can make some noise as well. Terry, thank you for coming and hanging out, man. You have a good night. I hope you guys all have a good weekend as well. I think we're going to answer this next question about horsepower and miles per gallon. We'll probably start closing it up for the night because I work in 8 hours. So here's what I've run several different tunes on the 6-liter with numerous several different injectors, several different turbos now. I guess four different turbos, four turbos. So here's what I've learned is all out race tunes never get you the best miles per gallon ever, even if you attempt to drive them responsibly. Excuse me. They're a lot of fun. You get more miles per gallon, and that's a fact. But inherently, how the transmission shifts and holds gears does not lend itself to the best fuel economy because they're meant to be getting up to speed very quickly and staying there. So, all out race tunes, no. Here's where I've found to be the best miles per gallon for me and my truck. And it was actually a Windrunner Performance Engineering tune that did this, which you can't get anymore. But it was hot street tunes are the ones that got the best fuel economy for me. And Windrunner again was the number one for me. Driving around town on basically a 35-inch tire, which those of you guys that have looked at them know the actual size of a 35-inch tire is like 34.4 to 34.8. The old white rain, that's right. So, what I found is, so on an all-out race tune, my 6-liter was making about 520 horsepower. On this street tune, and this is just a guesstimate, I want to say it was high four, so like maybe 470, 480, somewhere in there. But it was definitely less than an all-out race tune. It was still very fun to drive, but it was super efficient at everything it did. And I was able to get 17 miles per gallon on basically a 35-inch tire driving around with around town. I never took that setup on the highway to see what it could do on a trip, but around town, 17 miles per gallon is what I could get on that. It was awesome. Excuse me. So, depending on the tuning, depending on how the transmission shifts, will kind of make a big difference. You may have to kind of shop around for what your truck likes and your driving style and basically kind of track it. I will say this, to get that kind of fuel economy, I was actively trying to get really good fuel economy. I was not racing around. Now, I wasn't going slow. I wasn't going under the speed limit. I wasn't going significantly over it. I was probably a mile or two over the speed limit consistently. But I certainly wasn't like beating on the truck. I wasn't trying to get up to speed as quick as I could. I was just driving normally. I will say this, that tune was one of the most refined tunes I have ever driven. I am yet to drive a tune that ran as well as that did. It was just super smooth. Everything about it was freaking perfect. It felt like a stronger factory tuning. Like it was great. I loved it. I wish that guy would tune again because he was one of my favorites. I was able to get my hand on some Warren tunes, but Warren doesn't tune anymore, which is a shame because I like them, in case anyone's wondering. But there's plenty other. I'm going to be doing some Blessed Performance tunes, tune reviews here very shortly. And I like working with him. We'll see. I've never driven his tunes. I'll probably get his tunes for my 205/30 injectors when I do them. And we'll kind of go from there. But all-out race tunes, typically not great fuel economy. All-out race tunes, not great fuel economy. Hot street tunes are good. Mild street tunes are typically, in my experience, not as good. And tow tunes are okay as well. But my hot street tune, not a race tune, just a hot street tune, got better fuel economy than my tow tune. So that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't tow on a street tune, though. For the record, that's a bad idea. Don't do it unless you want to have some truck repairs coming your way in the near future. I'm having the same. Well, my fuel gauge just stopped working at this point. So but I'm going to be doing a video replacing those things as well. Trying to keep the smoke down. As far as keeping smoke down, that turbo I listed earlier, the stage 1.5 with factory injectors, is going to be your best bet. If you wanted to upgrade, maybe going to the turbo time stage 2, S11, which is a single plane compressor wheel, would be your next best bet. But a lot of that is very important that you have like a 3.5-inch downpipe to a 4-inch turbo back exhaust. It's having all the air flow upgrades that I have on my truck that I'm always harping on and advocating for to help keep smoke down and in check. That being said, if I do a full throttle pull with my 175 stock nozzle, excuse me, I get a pretty decent haze. I'll get a puff like getting in it right away without any boost. That clears up. But if I full throttle it, there is a little bit of a haze. It's not terrible by any stretch, but it's present. Anyway, guys, I want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out with us. Hopefully some people took something away from this and enjoyed it. I do plan to keep doing more of these. I'm trying to get as much content out to you guys as I can, and at the same time not boring you guys with the same exact stuff. So S velocity port doesn't smoke a hole, just a little. Yep, that sounds Ninja. That sounds exactly how that's supposed to work. Greg, thank you, man. Appreciate everybody for coming out. I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Look for a video coming in a couple days on just some 6-liter updates showing you guys the dent pulled out and all that. And if anybody needs me, hit me up. I'm happy to help. I'll see you guys in the next one.